Hey guys, this is here, and today we are going to be reacting to a video by the Critical Drinker. So this is about that Star Wars movie. I think I'm supposed to go over here actually. This is about the lady, the Star Wars director who posted cringe, and people were freaking out about her, and I didn't. Okay, I think I do have to just go this way. And I never got around to making a video about it, so I figured I would steal the Critical Drinker's content and just react and respond to what he has to say. So that's what we're doing today. So let's just hit play on that.
Another day, another controversy because a person said a thing and now half the internet is angry about it and the other half is angry at the people who got angry in the first place.
Boy,
I agree.
escalated quickly.
It was stupid.
We're only a few days into 2024 and already we have our first big battle for the empire of dust that is current day Star Wars. And in this case, the source of the controversy was Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, the director of the upcoming Star Wars movie focusing on Rey Palpatine.
Rey Skywalker.
Palpatine. I mean, Jesus, I've already said my piece on why turning stacks of dollar bills into crash barriers would be a more efficient way to spend $200 million or whatever embarrassingly huge amount of money they end up blowing on this turkey, so I won't repeat myself here. Instead, I'll just get right to the heart of the matter. As you probably noticed from looking at her, Sharmeen is a person of the female persuasion, and apparently that's real important.
I personally would never make that assumption. Shame on you, Mr. Drinker.
Important when it comes to directing Star Wars movies because
And we're in 2024 now, and I think it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away.
the old "it's time for demographic X to do arbitrary thing because current year" argument never gets old, does it?
What is this? How do I do this?
Now, when this clip started doing the rounds on the internet,
So I think this is a fair criticism. I don't. Let me see. What do I want to say here? I think that it's obviously fine for like a woman to direct a Star Wars movie, right? Like nobody reasonable is gonna have a problem with that. But I think that we're past the point where we have to like emphasize it. You know, like if you're a woman, hold on, I have this window here. I'm not missing something up there, am I? No, I'm not. But like, if you're a woman, it's like just go and make your movie. You don't need to like you don't need to openly state that you're a woman directing one of these movies. What am I doing wrong here? I'm sorry. It's like that doesn't have to. Oh, I can. I forgot I can climb. Hold on. It's been a while since I started playing this, but yeah, it's like you don't need to. You don't need to like put so much emphasis on the fact that you're a woman and that it's so special that you're a woman directing a movie, because I'm sure he's gonna talk about it. But I think after that in the clip, she's gonna say something like to the extent of, oh, you know, a woman has never gotten to craft a story in the Star Wars and in the lineage of Star Wars or whatever. And it's like, that's like objectively not true. Now, if you're being good faith, you can tell that she obviously means that there's never been a female Star Wars movie director, but obviously there have been like female authors. There, like Kathleen Kennedy is like the whole leader of Star Wars. She's crafting all the stories. We've had female directors for like Obi-Wan. Deborah Chow show ran that entire show. Bryce Dallas Howard, of course, has directed episodes, and I'm sure there are other people as well. But like, it's objectively untrue. But obviously, she means that she's the first female director of a film. But it's like you don't need to bring attention to it. You know, like I don't know. This is how I feel. I feel like we're at the point where, you know, whether you're a woman or a minority, if you're working on one of these projects, just go and direct your movie. You don't you don't need to harp on the fact that you are a woman or you are a minority. And I just don't think that it needs to be a huge part about you selling the film. So I do agree with I guess he hasn't even really said anything. I just kind of went off on my own tangent, but I do agree that you don't. It's just not a thing that's necessary to bring up. And yeah. So whatever. I'll let the video play.
Internet, the reaction from the Star Wars fan base was so thermonuclear that I think even Rachel Zegler breathed a sigh of relief. It's like a relay race, I guess. There's always going to be someone else waiting to say the next dumb thing and take the heat away from whoever's in the firing line at the moment. Not only did Charmine's statement conveniently ignore the fact that women have been represented as the protagonists of 4 out of the past 5 Star Wars movies, the right...
Wait, is he being stupid? Wait, hold on. Hold up. Is that just like not what like the point of what she said? I'm sorry. Hold on, I have to like. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? My whole setup here is messed up. Hold on, let me go back.
Have been represented as the protagonist. Not only to say the next sigh of the Star Wars argument, time for demographic X to do.
In a galaxy far, far away.
The old
Forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away.
Okay, this is a nitpick on my part, but this is she just like ignored it because a woman being the protagonist of a thing doesn't have anything to do with shaping the story. But that's a nitpick on my part.
Statement conveniently ignore the fact that women have been represented as the protagonists of 4 out of the past 5 Star Wars movies, the writers, producers, directors, and stars of multiple TV shows and video games.
But yeah, obviously the critical drinker, he time traveled and he stole what I just said. He just stole all of my points there, but you know.
And the president of the entire studio.
Well, dude, he's just ripping off all of my takes. What is this?
Tropes that have come to define the culture of modern Star Wars. The obsession with identity over personality, the narcissistic sense of entitlement, the trampling of the legacy of previous generations, the idea that you're owed something purely because of your...
Yeah, I don't care about... I will say this, I'm so sick of like the whole like, hey, you're messing with the legacy of the... Oh, you're disrespecting the characters. Oh, you're disrespecting your characters and your legacy. I was like, I think I'm kind of done caring about any of that. It's like, oh, you Skywalker is supposed to throw your lightsaber over your shoulder. Oh, you're so mad. That makes me angry. Oh, I'm so mad about that. It's like, I just don't care. I'm done caring about any of that. It's like, just make a good movie. I could not care less if you disrespect the legacy of the Skywalkers. Is the movie good? Cool.
Your gender, the realization that no matter how much ground is given and how many concessions are made, the demand will always be the same. More. And I think after enduring almost 10 years of smug, overpowered girl bosses who can magically do everything better than the men around them, the Star Wars fan base are kind of over.
This part is lame. I always thought the whole like Mary Sue thing for Rey was like stupid. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, and listen, it's been a while since I watched like The Force Awakens, but I think Rey might have beaten Kylo Ren in the lightsaber battle, but it was because he was injured. Like, Kylo Ren was shot by Chewbacca's bowcaster, if I remember correctly. And so, in like an injured state, I think Rey barely got out of their altercation alive, if I remember correctly. And it's like, okay, so she's a Jedi, and so yeah, she's like maybe better than the non force wielding people. I mean, is that might have been a thing? I guess. Like, is that even a thing that we're like mad about? So I don't know. I always thought the whole like Rey Mary Sue thing. Oh, but yeah, and then like I remember like all throughout the Rise of Skywalker, I explicitly remember that just being a movie of Kylo Ren beating up Rey. of like he's just like he's like letting her, he's not killing her because I remember it was like because he wanted to like turn her over to his side or something. So the whole like raise a Mary Sue thing was always silly to me. Do you see these moves though? Okay, the window being on the top left, by the way, is making this very difficult for me. I just want to point that out.
The whole female empowerment thing now. It's not new, groundbreaking, inventive, or admirable anymore. It's become the norm, as tediously predictable and stale as the damsel in distress.
Hold on, what
trope
is this?
of decades.
What am I looking at back here? How do I get up there? Oh, I think I know. I think I know what to do. My setup is so scuffed, by the way.
Earlier. The reality is that the stage had already been set for something like this when Obaid Chinoy was first announced as director, and people began to learn more about her background and career. A Pakistani journalist, documentary filmmaker, and feminist activist whose main focus was on highlighting the plight of women in Pakistani culture. I mean, that's admirable work indeed, but the question on most people's minds was, what the fuck has that got to do with Star Wars? The answer seemed to come in the form of previous interviews that magically resurfaced around the same time that seemed to offer some insight into her mindset as a director.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men.
Whatever the critical drinker has to say after this point is, in my opinion, maybe this is unfair, but it is how I feel at this point. It is going to like let me know definitively if he's like a legitimate like good faith actor or if he's like a hack. And I will explain myself.
And uncomfortable.
If I need to stand up and face a man and look at him in the eyes and scare him off a little bit, I do scare Pakistani men off a little bit. That I do, and I enjoy that power.
I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable.
Now, I'll be the first to admit that this doesn't sound particularly good when taken at face value.
Okay.
Without saying that if a male director was to sit there and proudly declare how much he enjoys making
whatever, hypocrisy, who cares? Get on with it.
Soy milk latte
I want to hear what he says.
would be over quicker than you can say me also. But in this case, I'm about to do something that may just surprise you.
Oh my
I'm going to
gosh.
defend her on this one.
Oh my gosh.
Serious?
See, the fact is,
Mr.
these
Drinker?
were made years earlier, and they have absolutely nothing to do with Star Wars or even the entire Western Hemisphere, for that matter. She was
Okay,
talking
you know
about
what? Unironically, the Mr. Drinker has like immediately made him like one of the best commentators in like nerddom. Or okay, you know what? I should clarify. Okay. So what he's about to explain is that at the time that she made these comments, she had just come off of making a documentary about honor killings in Pakistan. Okay? And by the way, this was like in like, I want to say like 2015, 2016, around there. I could be getting the dates wrong. It's been like a couple weeks since I was like looking into all of this. But this had nothing to do with Star Wars. This didn't even have anything to do with like a narrative film that she was making. Because at this time, she'd really only been doing documentary work. And she had just finished a documentary about honor killings in Pakistan. So when she's saying that she likes to make men uncomfortable, when she's saying that she likes to look men in the eye and like make them uncomfortable, she's talking about men that will like murder their daughters because they cheated on their husband. Like genuinely evil people that we're talking about here, where it's like this lady is not like some like white woman who's complaining about the wage gap. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about outside of the United States, where like things like the patriarchy, right? Stuff that we're sick of hearing about here in the States. Stuff where that stuff actually like is like a kind of a problem. It's like, yeah, those guys maybe could be made to be a little uncomfortable with some of the things that they do. So, unironically, I'm giving so much credit to the critical drinker right now, because like the amount of people on Twitter, and you know, I mentioned that I'm like bumping him up to like one of the biggest creators. I don't think I watched really much of. I can't remember like specific YouTube videos that I watched about this situation. It was mostly on Twitter, where I just saw people freaking out and whatnot, and I lost just so much faith. Like, not that I had any to begin with, but it was just like even more blackpilling when it comes to like online discourse, misinformation, just dishonesty from people. Just unironically, so much respect for the critical drinker.
Documentary work to expose the practice of honor killings in Pakistan.
Yes.
And the men who somehow think it's okay to literally murder women for the
Yeah.
crime of being assaulted by other men. I mean, if you think you're having a bad day, I suggest you look it up sometime. It'll put your life into perspective pretty quick. Anyway, my point is that those are the men she was talking about wanting to feel uncomfortable in the hopes that her work might cause them to reflect on their actions and rethink their worldview. Not an unreasonable position, but the problem is that when a clip like that surfaces at the same time as her interview about Star Wars, the human mind naturally forms a link between two completely unrelated things and assumes the worst. Shit.
To be clear, that is not a clip that just happened to surface. People explicitly, because they wanted to attack her, they explicitly went out and they searched for old clips of hers, and they maliciously spread that out. So I think he's being a little too I think he's being a little too like too nice to the idea that people were just innocently they were just innocently they innocently came across this clip, and they're like retarded babies, and their mind just goes to that. It's like no. People maliciously like sought old clips out because anytime people want to cancel people on the internet these days, they have to go out and they have to find clips and whatever of people saying things that they disagree with, and if they have to, they're not above pulling things out of context. So, little bit of an L take on that one, Mr. Drinker, but I don't even care. The fact that he even brought that up is unironically, I give him so much credit. Okay, let me play.
Man, we even covered it on Open Bar the other night, which is partly why I wanted to clarify it here. Now, none of this is to say that I think she's going to produce an amazing Star Wars movie, or that she's particularly qualified to take on a massive project like this in the first place, or that I agree with her reason for why she should be doing it. But I do think it's important to be fair in our criticism.
True.
And not misrepresent people's opinions just to farm some quick outrage.
True.
Anyway, I digress. Back to the point at hand. Every time someone makes a statement like that, my question is always the same. Why? Why exactly is it time for a woman to direct a Star Wars movie? It's got to be more than just, it's 2024 now. And that's not to say that I'm against the basic premise, but what I'm questioning here is the logic of the argument. Because normally when you make a bold declaration that a thing needs to happen, it should be followed up by some kind of understandable rationale to justify it. Otherwise it would be like striding up to your boss and demanding a raise with no evidence of why you deserve one. Just as a quick example off the top of my head, I think it's about time I disposed of.
So, I mean, the truth is that sorry, I'm I'm babbling here, but I mean, maybe she just gave like a really good pitch, and Kathleen Kennedy was like, "Boy, howdy, that's a really good idea there, Charmin Obaid Chinoy." I mean, I don't know. Do I necessarily believe that Kathleen Kennedy is like the most adept at like knowing what's a good pitch or not? Probably not, but I mean, that's entirely possible. But I mean, it is also possible. Again, we don't know any of this for sure. We're not in the decision making, or we're not in like the boardrooms where these decisions are made and whatnot. I mean, yeah, it is entirely possible that she was. Oh my gosh. that she was hired because her pitch would have involved like, you know, activism and whatnot. Which I will also note that like I don't care if you have like political messaging in your movie. Like if she wanted to make a Star Wars movie that is about, you know, or that is influenced by like the patriarchy in Pakistan, the same way that, you know, George Lucas, I want to say he's talked about, like, if I remember correctly, like he's talked about how the Star Wars movies were directly influenced by like the Vietnam War, you know. So if she wants to like, if she gave like a really sick ass pitch about, you know, some of the stuff that she's passionate about, I don't even necessarily have a problem with that. But I think the ultimate issue that somebody could have with her with her being chosen is the fact that she simply hasn't directed many. First of all, she's never directed a feature film before, and she hasn't directed many like narrative things. Actually, let me pull up her like Wikipedia or whatever. Give me one moment. Let's see. Charmin Obey Chinoy. Does she have just like a Wikipedia? Yes, she does. You guys are seeing this, right? Yeah, I think you are. Let's see. Fictional works. So, did she direct? Oh, she directed? Oh, she has directed a movie. She directed a 2015 Pakistani animated adventure film. Okay. I mean, I didn't realize. Oh, she directed a trilogy of movies. I didn't realize. I don't know if this is any good. I mean, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. For all I know, this is like Toy Story. You know? She directed Sitara Let Girls Dream, which is a 2020 Pakistani animated short film. Okay, so she did this. And then and this is the stuff that I'm familiar with. She directed looks like 2 episodes of Miss Marvel. Let me remind myself which episodes of Miss Marvel she's directed. She directed episode 4. Okay, so yeah, so this is when they traveled back in time. And then Seeing Red. So this is the one where they introduced like the Red Dagger people, right? Okay. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't love this episode of Miss Marvel, but but to be fair, it's also the problem with it was not like the direction or anything like that. It was mostly just the fact that, I mean, the problem with Miss Marvel overall is just that it's like the first 3 episodes I loved, and they were just about like Kamala in New Jersey with her, you know, solving problems with like her friends, and it's like an origin story and whatnot. And then they just go in a completely other direction in episode 4, where she just like goes to Pakistan. And it's like, what? This is it. You just completely abandoned the story that you were telling in the first 3 seasons, and then you just go to Pakistan. So it's like, I didn't particularly like, or I didn't love episode 4, but like, I enjoyed Miss Marvel overall, but one of the big problems is that in episode 4, again, which isn't a problem with her direction, it's just that it went in a completely other direction than the first 3 episodes. But then I will give Charmin credit, because episode 5 I thought was quite good, where episode 5 is almost like a short film, like it's a standalone thing basically. Because it for like the first half of it, it follows like Kamala's like great grandmother or something, and it's like telling her story, and I thought that was actually like quite good. So I guess all this to say that, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I thought she'd only directed, so this is where I would give like the valid criticism of making the weird decision to hand her Star Wars, is that I was under the impression that she directed a bunch of like documentaries, and then directed 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, and then they were like, here's Star Wars. I was not aware that she'd helmed an entire trilogy of movies. Now, I haven't seen these movies, Maybe they're terrible. That is entirely possible. But no, she's directed 3 movies and a short film and 2 episodes of Miss Marvel. I mean, never mind. I thought that it was an even more egregious idea to let her direct a Star Wars movie. Although, and then even if she had only directed 2 episodes of Miss Marvel, it should just be pointed out that the Russo brothers, they directed The Winter Soldier when they had only directed episodes of Community. So it's not like this kind of thing has never happened in the past. That's not to say that this would have been the same situation, but like this kind of thing has worked out in the past. But she actually is like an experienced director technically. Again, maybe those movies are terrible, but no, they did. She's not just like some documentarian that they handed the keys to. But anyways, let's see what Mr. Drinker has to say.
The corpse of that double glazing salesman who just wouldn't take no for an answer because it's starting to stink up my living room and it's only a matter of time before the neighbours start asking questions. In this case, I've established a clear problem that needs to be addressed, and while other people might propose different solutions, nobody can argue that a solution of some kind is indeed required. So what exactly is the problem that needs to be solved in this case?
Bad movies?
According to Charmine, it's that no woman has ever directed a Star Wars movie. And this, of course, is factually true. Out of the 11 Star Wars movies that have been released so far, all of them were directed by men. But why is this a...
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think that's... well, is it a problem? I think it's emblematic of the reality of the industry, right? That a lot of women weren't probably weren't given, or not probably, a lot of women just weren't given the opportunity, the opportunity to direct movies. But you don't fix that problem by just arbitrarily giving, women the director's chairs. It's like, it's just the attitude should and has been changing of like, oh no, women can direct movies, like a woman should just be able to direct friggin' The Authority for James Gunn's DC universe, and a man should be able to just direct the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie, basically.
The problem? Are men inherently bad at directing Star Wars movies? Would women be better at it? Well, men have certainly directed some bad Star Wars films, that's for sure. I don't think many people would argue that Rise of Skywalker was a good movie, or Solo, or The Phantom Menace. But then again, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and even Rogue One were all pretty good films, all of which were directed by men. But what about women?
You can't lie. I know everybody liked The Force Awakens, okay? You can't pretend that didn't happen. To be fair, I don't know if he did.
Are they different somehow? Well, in the world of Star Wars, we've had Bryce Dallas Howard direct multiple episodes of The Mandalorian, most of which turned out to be pretty good from a directing perspective. Not so much the writing, but that's not exactly her responsibility. So, nice work, Bryce. Then again, Deborah Chow directed every episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was almost universally terrible, with some of the worst staging and cinematography that I've ever seen in a Star Wars production. Not so good, Debs. So what can we take from this? Well, it's almost like male and female directors are both capable of producing good and bad Star Wars projects, none of which has anything whatsoever to do with their gender, and everything to do with their individual talents, skills, and abilities as artists. So why do we have to demean them as individuals by reducing them down to a monolithic collective based on
oh my gosh, he's the real feminist.
Why is it time for a woman to direct a Star Wars movie? More importantly, why is it time for this particular woman to direct a Star Wars movie? Well, I suspect you know the answer already. It's the same reason Kevin Feige proudly declared that we needed more female
what is this? I think we're getting to the point where we have so many great female characters that those are just our heroes, as opposed to when they are what am I saying? Or what is he saying? That those are just our heroes, as opposed to when are they all female, all male. It's just the Marvel heroes, more than half of which will be women. So, to be fair, or I don't know if I actually think this is a reasonable quote, but like when you look at like the MCU, for example, they basically just did like a straight white male speed run where they were like straight white male, straight white male, straight white male, straight white male, straight white male. And they eventually got to the point where Kevin Feige was like, fine, I guess I'll make a Black Panther now that I've run out of all the like premier white male characters. Fine, I guess I'll make a Captain Marvel movie now that I've run out of all of the straight white male characters. Fine, I guess I'll make Blade. You know, it's like he could act like it was I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is all just a coincidence that like literally everything at the beginning was straight white male characters. But I mean, yeah, it is now at the point where it's like when you look at what you got left, you're gonna make your Shang-Chi's, you're gonna make your Miss Marvels, you're gonna make your She-Hulks.
Heroes in the MCU, the same reason he hired inexperienced directors like Chloe Zhao, Kate Shortland and Nia DaCosta to take on massive projects that they were totally unprepared for. The same reason Lucasfilm were forging ahead with yet another...
I mean, again, like, so I think one of the things that I've identified with the MCU is that you can get away with hiring relatively inexperienced directors, right? You can't get like the Russo brothers. They had only directed a couple like episodes of Community before directing The Winter Soldier. But I think the difference was that at that point in the MCU's like life cycle, Kevin Feige had a stranglehold on the MCU, and he was there to like basically, I guess in a way like mentor the Russo brothers. And, you know, I think that Kevin Feige was, like, a massive reason for why those movies worked. Oh, God. Or why their movies worked. I don't think it's a coincidence that post-MCU, the Russo brothers have not had a ton of success. So, like, Kevin Feige hiring maybe relatively inexperienced directors. By the way, I don't know, like when you look at like the Marvels, for example, I don't even know that I would blame Nia DaCosta for that. Hold on, what is going on up there? Why can't I not get that strawberry? How do I get up there? What? Like, I don't even know if I can blame Nia DaCosta. Like, it really does feel like the Marvels was just such an... I don't know if I can get up there. Oh, you know what I can probably do? Oh my god, I'm so smart. Hold on, let me move my window over here for one moment. Like, I don't even know if I would blame Nia DaCosta. Like, that seems like such a genuine just... Like clusterfuck of MCU Phase 5, like, nobody knows what they're doing, too many projects at once... You would have to assume like massive studio like mismanagement, too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, I honestly don't know if I blame Nia DaCosta for the Marvels. Like that movie is so bad that I refuse to believe that there's like a singular vision there. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what's gone wrong with the MCU recently is that MCU's or Kevin Feige's lack of direction overall. I don't think it's so much that he hired inexperienced directors, because he's had success with hiring inexperienced directors. So there's that.
Their movie about a character nobody cares about. It looks good. More importantly, it makes them look good. It allows them to pat themselves on the back and say they're doing their bit for the greater good by fast-tracking people into roles they're totally not ready for on the basis of their innate characteristics, and then conveniently forgetting about them when their projects inevitably fail, rather than taking on the longer and more difficult task of nurturing real talent and allowing people to gradually work their way up to top-level projects once they're ready. And if anything, I think this approach does a real disservice to the many talented and capable female female
do I get
directors
up there?
already out there by reducing them to the status of token diversity hires chosen because of how they were born rather than their capability as artists, and provoking
do I get up
audiences
there?
into blaming them for failed movies that were never going to succeed anyway. Like, for example,
Oh, wait.
another movie about the adventures of Rey Palpatine.
Ray Skywalker.
You and
Oh
me
my gosh,
are
I'm
gonna
so
have
smart.
a long talk when this is over. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll just like reiterate, I guess, that I think that if Kathleen Kennedy was actually like a Kevin Feige type executive, and part of her whole thing here was that she could like nurture Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, like I could see that being why her pick would be a good idea. I think the big problem is that Kathleen Kennedy is clearly not that type of executive. Like, she clearly does not have a plan. She just kind of lets everybody do their own thing. The biggest example of that is the sequel trilogy, obviously. And yeah, it's like sometimes that works out well. Sometimes you get an Andor where Tony Gilroy is just the right guy for the job. And then sometimes you get the sequel trilogy where every director comes in and decides to just undo what the guy before him did, and it's just complete nonsense. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe Charmin Obaid-Chinoy genuinely just gave a really good pitch. Maybe those 3 movies that she's directed are like actually quite good, and maybe she is just a straight up genuinely talented director. I don't know. I haven't seen those movies. I enjoyed her direction on Ms. Marvel. You know, I thought she did a really great job in the second episode at least. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, massive respect to the Critical Drinker for honestly portraying her comments about the whole like making men uncomfortable thing. Unironically, massive respect to that guy. So yeah, let me know what you think about everything and all that I've discussed here today. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.